As leaders, entrepreneurs, individuals seeking growth, understanding who we are forms the bedrock of our actions, our decisions, and our relationships. It enables us to pivot when necessary, to communicate effectively, to forge meaningful connections with others. Without having self-awareness, we're like a ship in the sea without a compass, and we're tossed around like the waves and the winds without a clear sense of direction. But with self-awareness, we're captains of our destiny. Welcome to Evolve Leadership, the arena where high-achieving leaders are challenged to redefine their limits. My name is Angus. I grew up in the United States and I now live in Lisbon, Portugal. I'm an executive coach and I've spent my career advising and training leaders from startups to Fortune 500 companies. And here's what I've learned. An old, ineffective leadership framework will always keep you on a hamster wheel, consumed with work-life balance, burnout, and stress. Here on the show, each week we'll help you rethink the path to achievement. We'll help you discover new principles, new philosophies to the modern leader. Look, the world is relentlessly changing, demanding a new era of leaders. It's time to redefine your limits. So enter the arena, my friend. It's time to evolve.
Welcome to the Evolve Leadership Show. Today on the show, we're going to look at the one mental shift that billionaires like Richard Branson swear by to jumpstart their wealth creation. My name is Tim McClagan. I'm the senior coach here at Evolve. And today we get an inside look at one of our coaching calls where our founder, Angus Nelson, shares about this mental shift and how powerful it is to navigate around obstacles in your business and jumpstart your revenue. Let's dive into that right now.
We're talking about self-awareness, and so many times you can hear the term self-awareness, and it's not a real flashy, it's not a super cool thing like marketing strategy and bottom line and ROI or whatever. But in business and relationships, and I would say, in fact, your whole life, self-awareness is everything. Now, I know one guy, a friend of mine, he would say he's absolutely self-aware. He would tell you that he knows that he has trauma issues, and he knows he has a bad temper. And I would tell you that that doesn't mean that you're self-aware. Just because you know something about yourself doesn't mean you're self-aware. It's about having the clarity of what to do with what you are observing about yourself, about the things that you're paying attention to around you. That's when you become self-aware. So I want to go into this a little bit from a couple perspectives. One from, what it looks like and how to get it, and then how it plays against you. So first of all, self-awareness, it isn't about, like I said, knowing that thing exists. It's about understanding strengths, weaknesses, thoughts, beliefs, motivations, emotions, all these different areas that are always at play in our lives. And for many of you, you probably have worked or been around people that it's not hard to tell that they're not self-aware. They're an asshole. They're arrogant. They're aloof. All these things show a lack of self-awareness, but it's really easy to recognize that in other people, not always the easiest to see in ourselves. And so when we see like overconfidence, when we see poor judgment, when we see the inability for someone to acknowledge their mistakes, then they can't build their teams properly, right? The inability to relate with others, all that comes from an inability to have self-awareness. And people who are out of touch with themselves, they're more likely to make really bad decisions. And they don't take time, or they don't even recognize they're not, and this is where self-awareness is, they don't recognize that they're not considering all the things around them. So when you get caught up in not being aware, different things can drive you. They become impulsive. They become, reactionary. Negative emotions, anger, resentment, defensive,ness. These are all tactics of someone who is not self-aware, simply because you're not aware. You're not paying attention. So here's 5 major areas where people oftentimes have a lot of problems with self-awareness. Number 1, poor decision-making. Leaders who lack self-awareness often make decisions based on preconceived perceptions, biases, rather than the objective facts. This person may fall or fail to recognize their own prejudices, their own blind spots, and that leads to decisions that are not in the best interest of everyone involved, either in their team or their organization or in their families. Number two, I would tell you, damage relationships. Leaders who are not self-aware can unintentionally harm the relationships of those around them, and their team members, in their marriages, in their kids. They may not understand how their actions are actually playing out with those around them. Maybe it's a carelessness of their words. Maybe it's, simple misunderstandings or a lack of trust, low morale. Number three, ineffective communication. Without self-awareness, leaders are not able to effectively communicate their vision, their expectations, or even give quality feedback. They may fail to understand that their own communication style and how it impacts others, that leads to confusion, frustration, unmet goals, and ultimately creates a culture that is toxic. Fourth, burnout. What about in your own life? When leaders are not self-aware, they oftentimes push themselves too hard. They're constantly going and going. There's never enough. They've got to fill all the time, and they're neglecting their own needs for rest and balance. And this can lead to burnout. And that's oftentimes a product of them having bad decision-making, bad with their productivity, and bad with the relationships around them. Leveraging what's available to them can help them ease time to delegate, to let loose a lot of the things that they're carrying on their own. And lastly, a resistance to change. Self-awareness is a key to adaptability. Leaders who lack self-awareness, they resist change. They're sticking to what they may have believed used to work, and now it no longer works, but they don't have that comprehension. And this can stifle innovation. It stifles, growth. It prevents an organization from adapting to evolving methodologies, to markets, or to the customer's needs. All of these resistance to change can play into the negativity as well as the detriment of the company. So developing self-awareness is crucial for building your company, for maintaining growth, scale, or effective leadership as a whole. And so if you are not in a place where you are making better decisions and building strong relationships and communicating more effectively, promoting your well-being and being adaptable in the face of change, then you might want to question whether you're in a place where you are lacking in self-awareness. So it was one person in particular I'll share with you is a renowned entrepreneur that we all know, the beloved Sir Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Group. And when he started with his adventurous spirit and his innovative mindset, it was kind of creepy how it started. He actually started in the crypt of a church. It was the only place that would let him start up his office. And early in him starting the company, he was diagnosed with dyslexia. And so he was in a place where tasks became challenging, and he wasn't effectively communicating. He was in a place where things were getting in his own way, and most of all, he was getting in his own way. And despite this, he launched his record business, and all of those limitations created problems after problems after problems. But once he became aware, the turning point was when he recognized that his dyslexia, he had made part of his identity. And when he recognized that, he had to shift the narrative in his head to say that this is not a roadblock, this is an opportunity. And from that self-awareness, he started to delegate the tasks that he found challenging or exhausting or robbing of his energy and his time. And as a result, rather than shying away from his limitations, he embraced them. And he used them to create the unique leadership style that he has, where now he's running over 400 companies because he's learned how to trust and build a team. And this is an example of how the power of self-awareness can turn a so-called weakness into your power, your superpower, your strength. Not by denying them, but by understanding them and figuring out how to work and leverage them better. So self-awareness isn't just about realizing you've got disabilities or acknowledging that you've been given some tough breaks in life. It's about seeing the whole picture, recognizing where you're standing, understanding where you want to go and how you're going to get there.
Let me just pause for a second to say this. There is one trait that you will find in every successful leader, no matter their industry, no matter their role. And that trait is action. And we want to inspire ambitious leaders like you to bet on yourself and take action on those audacious goals that you see in your heart. That's why we created our 90-day accelerator. It's a results-driven, battle-tested framework designed specifically for high-performing leaders like you to get unstuck and propel you towards your goals. And in just 90 days, you won't even recognize the person you used to be. To be a part of this elite community, go to evolveleadership.org. Now, back to the show.
How do you cultivate a critical skill like self-awareness? I would tell you, number one is self-reflection. When you dedicate time to this self-reflection, ask yourself what worked, what didn't work, and why. And furthermore, I would say, well, what were your emotions throughout the day? And how did they impact your decisions? Number two, getting feedback. As scary as it might be when you ask somebody, hey, what do you think about that meeting? How did I come off? Like getting feedback from your team, your spouse, your kids, like all of that, that gives you perspective. It gives you objectivity. It's like having a mirror to show you the sides of you that are hard to see on your own. Like, you've ever get done with lunch, you're like, that lunch was awesome. You go about through the rest of your day, and then at the end of the day, you get home. You may have heard me tell this story before. You have something in your teeth when you look in the mirror. You're like, that broccoli's been in my teeth all day. That's what feedback is like. It shows you the things that you could never see on your own. That's where self-awareness can kick in. Number three, mindfulness. When you practice mindfulness, man, you can just let go of all the things that are just driving you. And you take a moment to reflect. And being present, being aware of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions right here, present in this moment, and doing it without judgment. That will bring awareness when especially you detect the patterns. When you see those patterns, you can make better choices. And lastly, coaching. Consider getting a coach. Well, ding, ding, ding. You guys are all winners. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Getting coached is when you get those unbiased feedbacks. Do you recognize? Do you realize this is what this looks like? Is that the way you wanted this person to feel? Is this the way you wanted them to react? Is this the way you wanted that thing to end up? And suddenly you're like, well, shit, that sucks. And now you see your blind spots and you can be guided towards something that gives you greater self-awareness. So when you master this skill, you're finally at the place where like self-awareness is actually something that you're normal and you've normalized and you've made it your own. Suddenly you're not just reacting, where suddenly like something happens and you just like lose your shit. Or something happens and suddenly you go into a depression. Something goes one way and you suddenly go into a tailspin. Like you're no longer just reacting, you're responding. You're more in control of your emotions. You're making better choices. You're making better decisions, and you're aligned with who you truly are and what you truly want. So in business, self-awareness can help you delegate effectively. It can help you nurture your team. It can help you lead with empathy, and you'll reclaim the time for important tasks so that your company can actually grow. And in relationships, self-awareness allows you to communicate in ways that are clear and understand your partner's needs, your colleagues, your team, and you'll see improvements in your marriage, your dating. You'll have presence with your children because you're no longer just flying about just like a pinball machine, or rather the pinball in a pinball machine. So in life, Self-awareness plays a central role in the formation and expression of your character. It's through self-awareness that we can understand our values, our beliefs, our motivations, our strengths, our weaknesses. And this understanding guides all of our actions, our reactions, and our interactions, all of which collectively come from our character. So for example, if you say, hey, I'm a person who values honesty. Through self-awareness, you recognize in a situation when you're tempted to like compromise on that value, where you like want to like exaggerate something, or you want to be hiding some kind of piece of information just so you can like close that deal. In that moment, instead of avoiding that difficult conversation, you'll actually embrace character. And you'll make a conscious choice that reflects the value of honesty. And therefore, or thereby rather, you actually strengthen your character even more. Maybe it's a conversation with your spouse, and your spouse is asking you a very direct question about a very specific thing, and you want to like avoid and distract, and you want to go about a different way. And suddenly in that moment, self-awareness kicks in, and you're like, I'm avoiding the truth. Self-awareness gives you the ability to identify these opportunities for personal growth. Or what about a quick temper? That always damages relationships. Anytime that you blow up at a person, you rob them of the ability of feeling safe in your presence. Whether it's your kids, whether it's your spouse, whether it's someone you work with. And self-awareness can help you develop patience, empathy, better communication skills, enhancing all the elements of your character. So in that moment, when you feel that impulse, that drive, that rage, you take a breath and you ask questions instead. Hey, why didn't you understand that? Hey, what about this? Or what is it that you didn't understand? Self-awareness creates authenticity, and it actually helps you be more true to who you are. And it's about aligning your actions with those inner values rather than simply conforming to societal expectations, the pressures, or the emotions that you feel that you're supposed to, ought to. An authentic person is not only aware of their values and beliefs, but also the acts and ways that they can stay consistent. And the more consistent you become, the more trustworthy those around you will see you. And that kind of authenticity, that strengthens your character, and suddenly people are responding to you in a different way, and your leadership, your influence rises. You foster trust and respect, and in your personal and professional relationships, people see you as somebody who's unique and different, powerful, because they know you're real. And they know that you're not going to like make them feel unsafe. So in summary, self-awareness is not just a desirable trait. It's an absolute necessity for authentic and powerful leadership. As leaders, entrepreneurs, individuals seeking growth, understanding who we are forms the bedrock of our actions, our decisions, and our relationships. It enables us to pivot when necessary, to communicate effectively, to forge meaningful connections with others, and to avoid the snares of burnout. Without having self-awareness, we're like a ship in the sea without a compass, and we're tossed around like the waves and the winds without a clear sense of direction. But with self-awareness, we're captains of our destiny. We're capable of navigating through stormy waters and charting like a course towards a desired haven. So I want to encourage you to embark on a journey of self-discovery, to embrace the reflections in your mirror, to welcome the feedback, to be present in the moment, and don't hesitate to seek guidance when needed. Remember, the journey to becoming a better leader begins with understanding the leader within. Great leaders first lead themselves. And I'll leave you with the wise words of Lao Tzu, the ancient Chinese philosopher. They said, knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. So let's harness this power, not just grow our businesses, but enrich our lives and all of those around us. So here's to the journey of self-awareness and self-mastery. As we wrap up another episode of Evolve Leadership, thank you so much for taking time to invest in you. If there's to be any sustainable growth in your company or even in your relationships, you must grow first. And it's what I love to do for leaders, to help them grow, to challenge their thinking, sharpen self-awareness, to instill an unshakable confidence, and ultimately upgrade their sense of self. And we do this through our proprietary method called Agile EQ Plus, where we're leveraging agile leadership and emotional intelligence. We provide our signature training for individuals, and for businesses, we've designed a unique curriculum for company-wide learning and development. If you'd like to learn more about our training or to schedule a call, you can simply go to evolveleadership.org. And until next time, stay driven, keep climbing, and never stop evolving.